It seems like all the cool kids these days are running MOTOZ tyres, while Granddad's over there telling us that the D606 is the only tyre you'll ever need. What's the right answer? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Before we get into the answer to the question, first thing you need to do is make sure your suspension is actually set up right. Doesn't matter the kind of tread pattern that you've got if the tyre is not being forced onto the ground and that tread's not touching the ground. If your spring's not set up right, if it's not weighted correctly for your bike, you're just not going to get the traction that everyone else does. So, first step, go ahead and do your suspension. If you want to see about DR suspension, I got a video about that. I also did a CB500X recently. But first step, suspension. Now let's talk about tyres. Let's answer the question of the video, shall we? Which one do we choose? I got a MOTOZ Desert HT, I got a MOTOZ RallZ, and I got a D606 actually on the bike right now. All of them, let's say between 5,000 and 7,000 Ks out of a rear set of tyres. D606 is cheapest, so if it's value for money you're after, probably the D606. Now, if we talk about it real briefly, on the RallZ, we've got an alternating tread pattern down the centre. What that means is very even traction, sort of side to side, especially as you're turning. Unfortunately, what else it means with this alternating large tread in the middle, it can get a bit wobbly on the highway and on bitumen, especially when sort of the bitumen changes or you hit a pothole. These kind of sucked on road. The other thing to note is there's a big gap in between the treads, so it is a bit of a vibrating tyre. That's what that is. On the Desert, again, keeping it simple, massive gaps between the tread blocks and a very central design, so didn't get the wobbles I got with the RallZ. What it does mean though is it either wants to drive dead straight or it wants to be on this corner, on these side blocks of the tread. What that essentially means is you've got a tyre that has a few weird characteristics which once you get used to is phenomenal, but again very much an off-road tyre, not much fun on the highway. The big tread gaps mean that you lack a bit of traction on the bitumen, especially in the wet. The D606, which I'll bring you down to look at, best of both worlds for myself, and this is why I'd choose the D606 over most other tyres that are around. It's got a bit of a closer tread pattern, still more than knobby enough to give you plenty of traction when you're off-road. Same sort of mileage for a cheaper price and a very even tread pattern. So these things took a little while to scrub in and they are wearing down rather fast as I rack up the Ks. I expect I should easily get about 5,000 out of them before we hit the point where traction starts to fade. That's my opinion anyway, guys. I hope that if you're shopping around, this has helped you maybe work out what kind of tyre you want to put on your bike. But let me know down in the comments if there's something else you recommend. Maybe there's some new tyre brand shooting up that I'm not aware of yet. And I'll see you guys out on the tracks. Laters.